Hi, hello, namaskara, and welcome to EU Media Enrichment Upliftment. I am your Srivatsa. We apologize for missing out the episode last week due to technical error, but we are back with My Plan of Campaign, chapter number 11, episode number 11, from the book Lectures from Colombo to Almora. In the previous chapter, we saw Swamiji saw a magnanimous crowd welcoming him into the Madras, and he was astonished by the support of the crowd, and he had to break the speech in between. And then he said, "We will speak on the later date," and that date was mentioned in Lectures from Colombo to Almora, chapter number 11, My Plan of Campaign. This address was delivered at the Victoria Hall, Madras. As the other day we could not proceed owing into the crowd, I shall take this opportunity of thanking the people of Madras for the uniform kindness that I have received at their hands. I do not know how better to express my gratitude for the beautiful words that have been expressed in the addresses than by praying to the Lord to make me worthy of the kind and generous expression, and by working all my life for the cause of our religion and to serve our motherland. And may the Lord make me worthy of them with all my faults. I think I have a little bit of boldness. I had a message from India to the West, and boldly I gave it to the American and the English people. I want, before going into the subject of the day, to speak a few bold words to you all. There have been certain circumstances growing around me, tending to thwart me, oppose my progress, and crush my out of existence if they could. Thank God, they have failed as such attempts will always fail. But there has been, for the last 3 years, a certain amount of misunderstanding, and so long as I was in foreign lands, I held my peace and did not even speak one word. But now, standing upon the soil of my motherland, I want to give a few words of explanation. Not that I care what the result will be of these words. Not that I care what I feel I shall evoke from you by these words. I care very little, for I am the sannyasi that entered your city about 4 years ago with this staff and kamandalu. The same broad world is before me. Without further preface, let me begin. First of all, I have to say a few words about the Theosophical Society. It goes without saying that a certain amount of good work has been done to India by the society. As such, every Hindu is grateful to it, and especially to Mrs. Besant. For though I know very little of her, yet what little I know has impressed me with the idea that she is a sincere well-wisher of this motherland of ours, and that she is doing the best in her power to raise our country. For that the external gratitude of every true-born Indian is hers, and all blessings be on her and hers forever. But that is one thing, and joining the society of the Theosophist is another. Regard and estimation and love are one thing, and swallowing everything anyone has to say without reasoning, without criticizing, without analyzing is quite another. There is a report going around that the Theosophist helped the little achievements of mine in America and England. I have to tell you plainly that every word of it is wrong. Every word of it is untrue. We hear so much tall talk in this world of liberal ideas and sympathy with differences of opinion. That is very good. But as a fact, we find that one sympathizes with another only so long as the other believes in everything he has to say. But as soon as he dares to differ, that sympathy is gone, that love vanishes. There are others, again, who have their own axes to grind, and if anything arises in country which prevents the grinding of them, any amount of hatred comes out and they do not know what to do, what harm does it to the Christian missionary that the Hindus are trying to cleanse their own houses? What injury will it do to the Brahmo Samaj and other reform bodies that the Hindus are trying their best to reform themselves? Why should they stand in opposition? Why should they be the greatest enemies of these movements? Why? I ask, it seems to me that their hatred and jealousy are so bitter that no why or how can be asked there. 4 years ago, when I, a poor, unknown, friendless sannyasi, was going to America, going beyond the waters to America without any introductions or friends there, I called on the leader of the Theosophical Society. Naturally, I thought he, being an American and a lover of India, perhaps would give me a letter of introduction to somebody there. He asked me, "Will you join my society?" "No," I replied. "How can I? For I do not believe in most of your doctrines." "Then I am sorry, I cannot do anything for you," he answered. That was not paving the way for me. I reached America, as you know, through the help of a few friends from Madras. Most of them are present here. Only one is absent, Mr. Justice Subramanya Iyer, to whom my deepest gratitude is due. He has the insight of a genius and is one of the staunchest friends I have in my life. A true friend indeed, a true child of India. I arrived in America several months before the Parliament of Religions began. The money I had with me was little, and it was soon spent. Winter approached, and I had only thin summer clothes. I did not know what to do in that cold, dreary climate, for if I went to beg in the streets, the result would have been that I would have been sent to jail. There I was, with the last few dollars in my pocket. I sent a wire to my friends in Madras. This came to be known to the Theosophists, and one of them wrote, "Now the devil is going to die, God bless us all." Was that paving the way for me? I would not have mentioned this now, but as my countrymen wanted to know, it must come out. For 3 years I have not opened my lips about these things. Silence has been my motto. But today the thing has come out. That was not all. I saw some Theosophists in the Parliament of Religions and I wanted to talk and mix with them. I remember the looks of scorn which were on their faces, as much as to say, "What business has the worm to be here in the midst of the gods?" After I had got name and fame at the Parliament of Religions, then came tremendous work for me. But at every turn, the Theosophists tried to cry me down. Theosophists were advised not to come and hear my lectures, for thereby they would lose all sympathy for the society, because the laws of the historic section declare that any man who joins that historic section should receive instruction from Kutumi or Moria. Of course, through their visible representatives, Mr. Judge and Mrs. Besant, so that to join the historic section means to surrender one's independence. Certainly, I could not do any such thing, nor could I call any man a Hindu who did any such thing. I had a great respect for Mr. Judge. He was a worthy man, open, fair, simple, and he was the best representative the Theosophist ever had. I have no right to criticize the dispute between him and Mrs. Besant when each claims that his or her Mahatma is right. And the strange part of it is that the same Mahatma is claimed by the both. Lord knows the truth. He is the judge, and no one has the right to pass the judgment when the balance is equal. Thus, they prepared the way for me all over America. They joined the other opposition, the Christian missionaries. There is not one black lie imaginable that these latter did not invent against me. They blackened my character from city to city. Poor and friendless though I was in a foreign country, they tried to oust me from my house and to make every man who became my friend my enemy. They tried to starve me out, and I am sorry to say that one of my own countrymen took part against me in this. He is the leader of a reform party in India. This gentleman is declaring every day, Christ has come to India. Is this the way Christ is to come to India? Is this the way to reform India? And this gentleman I knew from my childhood. He was one of my best friends. When I saw him, I did not met for a long time one of my countrymen. I was so glad, and this was the treatment I received from him. The day the parliament cheered me, the day I became popular in Chicago, from that day his tone changed. And in an underhand way, he tried to do everything he could do to injure me. Is that the way that Christ will come to India? Is that the lesson that he had learnt after sitting 20 years at the feet of Christ? Our greatest reformers declare that Christianity and Christian power are going to uplift the Indian people. Is that the way to do it? Surely, if that gentleman is an illustration, it does not look very hopeful. One word more, I read in the organ of social reforms that I am called a Shudra and am challenged as what right a Shudra has to become a sannyasi. To which I reply, I trace my descent to one at whose feet every Brahmin lays flowers when he utters the word Yamaya Dharmarajaya Chitraguptaya Ve Namaha, and whose descendants are the purest of Kshatriyas. If you believe in your mythology or your Puranic scriptures, let these so-called reformers know that my caste, apart from other services in the past, ruled half of India for centuries. If my caste is left out of consideration, what will be there left of the present day civilization of India? In Bengal alone, my blood has furnished them with the greatest philosophers, the greatest poet, the greatest historian, the greatest archaeologist, the greatest religious preacher. My blood has furnished India with the greatest of her modern scientists. These detractors ought to have know a little of our own history and to have studied our three castes and learned that the Brahmin, the Kshatriya and the Vaishya have equal right to be sannyasis. The Trivarnikas have equal right to the Vedas. This is the only way. I just refer to this, but I am not at all hurt if they call me a Shudra. It will be a little repression for the tyranny of my ancestors over the poor. If I am a pariah, I will be all the more glad, for I am the disciple of a man who, the Brahmin of Brahmins, wanted to cleanse the houses of pariah. Of course, the pariah would not allow him. How could he let this Brahmin sannyasi come and cleanse his house? And this man woke up in the dead of night, entered surreptitiously the house of this pariah, cleansed his latrine, and with his long hairs wiped the place, and that he did day after day in order that he might make himself the servant of all. I bear the feet of that man on my head. He is my hero. That hero's life I will try to imitate. And by being the servant of all, a Hindu seeks to uplift himself. That is how Hindus should uplift the masses, and not by looking any foreign influence. 20 years of Occidental civilization brings to my mind the illustration of the man who wants to starve his own friend in a foreign land simply because this friend is popular, simply because he thinks that this man stands in the way of making money, and the other is the illustration of what genuine Orthodox Hinduism itself will do at home. Let any one of our reformers bring out that life, ready to serve even a pariah, and then I will sit at his feet and learn, and not before that. 1 ounce of practice is worthy 20,000 tons of big talk. Now I come to reform the societies in Madras. They have been very kind to me. They have given me my very kind words, and they have pointed out, and I heartily agree with them, that there is a difference between the reforms of Bengal and those of Madras. Many of you will remember what I have very often told you, that Madras is in a very beautiful state just now. It has got to into the play of action and reaction as Bengal has done. Here there is steady and slow progress, although here is growth and not reaction. In many cases, and to certain extent, there is a revival in Bengal, but in Madras, it is not a revival. It is a growth, a natural growth. As such, I entirely agree with what the reformers point out as the difference between the two people, but there is one difference which they do not understand. Some of these societies, I am afraid, try to intimidate me to join them. That is strange thing for them to attempt. A man who met starvation face to face for 14 years for his life, who has not known where he will get the meal the next day and where to sleep, cannot be intimidated so easily. A man almost without clothes who dared to live where the thermometer registered 30 below zero without knowing where the next meal was to come from cannot be easily intimidated in India. This is the first thing I will tell them. I have little will of my own. I have my little experience too. And I have a message for the world which I will deliver without fear and without care for the future. To the reformers, I will point out that I am a greater reformer than any one of them. They want to reform only little bits. I want root and branch to reform. Where we differ is in this method. Theirs is the method of destruction, mine is that of construction. I do not believe in reform, I believe in growth. I do not dare to put myself in the position of God and to dictate to our society, this is way thou should move and not that. I simply want to be the squirrel in the building of Rama's bridge, who was quite content to put on the bridge his little quota of sandust. That is my position. This wonderful national machine has worked through ages. This wonderful river of a national life is flowing before us. Who knows and who dares to say whether it is good and how it shall move? Thousands of circumstances are crowding round it, giving it a special impulse, making it a dull at one time and quicker at another. Who dares command its motion? Ours is only to work as the Gita says, without looking for results. Feed the national life with the fuel it wants, but the growth is its own. None can dictate its growth to it. Evils are plentiful in our society, but so are there evils in every other society. Here, the earth is soaked sometimes with the widow's tears. There, in the West, the air is rent with the sighs of the unmarried. Here, the poverty is the great bane of life. There, the life weariness of luxury is the great bane that is upon the race. Here, men want to commit suicide because they have nothing to eat. There, they commit suicide because they have so much to eat. Evil is everywhere. It is like chronic rheumatism. Drive it from the foot, it goes to the head. Drive it from there, it goes somewhere else. It is question of chasing from place to place. That is all. I, children, to try to remedy evil is not the true way. Our philosophy teaches that evil and good are eternally conjoined, the obverse and the reverse of the same coin. If you have one, you must have the other. A wave in the ocean must be at the cost of a hollow elsewhere. Nay, all life is evil. No breath can be breathed without killing someone else. Not a morsel of food can be eaten without depriving someone for it. This is the law. This is the philosophy. Therefore, the only one thing we can do is to understand all the work against evil is more subjective than objective. The work against evil is more educational than actual. However big we may talk, this, first of all, is the idea of work against evil, and it ought to make us calmer. It ought to make us phantasm out of our blood. The history of the world teaches us that wherever there have been fanatical reforms, and the only result has been that they have defeated their own ends. No greater upheaval for the establishment of right and liberty can be imagined than the war of abolition of slavery in America. You all know about it. And what has been its results? The slave are 100 times worse off today than they were before the abolition. Before the abolition, these poor Negroes were the property of somebody, and as properties, they had to be looked after so that they might not deteriorate. Today, they are the poverty of nobody. Their lives are of no value. They are burnt alive on mere presences. They are shot down without any law for their murderers, for they are niggers. They are not human beings. They are not even animals. And that is the effect of such violent taking away evil by the law or by fanatism. Such is the testimony of the history against the every fanatical movement, even for doing good. I have seen that. My own experience has taught me that. Therefore, I cannot join anyone of these condemning societies. Why condemn? There are evils in every society. Everybody knows it. Every child of today knows it. He can stand upon a platform and give a harangue on the awful evils of Hindu society. Every uneducated foreigner who comes here globe-trotting takes a vanishing railway view of India and lectures most learnedly on the awful evils in India. We admit that there are evils. Everybody can show what evil is, but he is the friend of mankind who finds a way out of the difficulty, like the drowning boy and the philosopher. When the philosopher was lecturing him, the boy cried, "Take me out of the water first." So our people cry, "We have had lectures enough, society is enough, papers are enough. Where is the man who will lend us a hand to drag us out? Where is the man who really loves us? Where is the man who has sympathy for us? I, that man is wanted." That is where I differ entirely from these reform movements. For 100 years they have been here. What good has been done except the creation of the most vituperative, a most condemning lecture? Would it to God was not here. They have criticized, condemned, abused the Orthodox until the Orthodox have caught their tone and paid them back in their own coin. And the result is the creation of a literature in every vernacular which is the shame of the race, the shame of the country. Is this reform? Is this leading the nation to glory? Whose fault is this? There is then another great consideration. Here in India, we have always been governed by the kings. Kings have made all our laws. No, the kings are gone and there is no one left to make a move. The government dares not. It has to fashion its way according to the growth of public opinion. It takes time, quite a long time, to make a healthy, strong public opinion which will solve its own problems, and in the interim, we shall have to wait. The whole problem of social reforms, therefore, resolves itself into this: where are those who want reform? Make them first. Where are the people? The tyranny of a minority is the worst tyranny that the world ever sees. A few men who think that the certain things are evil will not make a nation move. Why does not the nation move? First, educate the nation, create your legislative body, and then the law will be forthcoming. First, create the power, the sanction from which the law will spring. The kings are gone. Where is the new sanction, the new power of people? Bring it up. Therefore, even for the social reform, the first duty is to educate the people, and you will have to wait till that time comes. Most of the reforms that have been agitated for the during the past century have been ornamental. Every one of these reforms only touches the first two castes and no other. The question of widow marriage would not touch 70% of the Indian women, and all such questions only reach the higher caste of Indian people who are educated, mark you, at the expense of the masses. Every effort has been spent in cleaning their own houses, but that is no reformation. You must go down to the basis of that thing, to the very root of the matter. That is what I call a radical reform. Put the fire there and let it burn upwards and make an Indian nation. And the solution of the problem is not so easy, as it's a big and vast one. Be not in a hurry. This problem has been known several hundred years. Today, it is the fashion to talk of Buddhism and Buddhistic agnosticism, especially in the South. Little do they dream that this degradation which is with us today has been left by Buddhism. This is the legacy which Buddhism has left to us. You read in the books written by men who had never studied the rise and fall of Buddhism that the spread of Buddhism was owing to the wonderful ethics and the wonderful personality of the Gautama Buddha. I have every respect and veneration for the Lord Buddha, but mark my words, the spread of Buddhism was less owing to the doctrines of the personality of the great preacher than to the temples that were built, the idols that were erected, and the gorgeous ceremonial that were put before the nation. Thus Buddhism progressed. The little fireplaces in the houses in the people poured their liberation were not strong enough to hold their own against these gorgeous temples and ceremonies. But later on, the whole thing degenerated. It became a mass of corruption of which I cannot speak before this audience, but those who want to know about it may see a little of it in those big temples full of sculptures in southern India, and this is all the inheritance we have from the Buddhists. Then arose the great reformist Shankaracharya and his followers, and during these hundreds of years since his time to the present day, there has been the slow bringing back of the Indian masses to the pristine purity of the Vedantic religion. These reformers knew full well the evils which existed, yet they did not condemn. They did not say, all that you have is wrong and you must throw it away. It can never be so. Today I read that my friend Dr. Barrows say that in 300 years Christianity overthrew the Roman and Greek religious influences. That is not the word of a man who has seen Europe, Greece and Rome. The influence of Roman and Greek religion is all there, even in the Protestant countries, only with changed names. Old gods rechristened in a large fashion. They changed their names. The goddesses became Marys, and the gods became saints, and the ceremonial became new. Even the old little of Pontifex Maximus is there. So sudden changes cannot be, and Shankaracharya knew it. So did Ramanuja. The only way left to them was slowly to bring up the highest ideal, the existing religion. If they had sought to apply the other method, they would have been hypocrites. For the very fundamental doctrines of their religion is evolution, the soul going towards the highest goal through all these various stages and phases, which are therefore necessary and the helpful, and who dares to condemn it? It has become a trite saying that the idolatry is wrong and every man swallows it at the present time without even questioning it. I once thought so, and to pay the penalty of that, I had to learn my lesson sitting at the feet of a man who realized everything through idols. I allude to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. If such Ramakrishna Paramahamsa are produced by idol worship, what will you have? The Reformers' creed or any number of idols? I want an answer. Take thousands of idols more if you can produce Ramakrishna Paramahamsas through idol worship, and may God speed you. Produce such noble natures by any means you can. Yet idolatry is condemned. Why? Nobody knows. Because some hundreds of years ago, some man of Jewish blood happened to condemn it. That is, he happened to condemn everybody else's idols except his own. If God is represented in any beautiful form or any symbolic form, said the Jew, it is awfully bad, it is a sin. But he is represented in the form of a chest with two angels sitting on each side and a hood hanging over it. It is the Holy of Holies. If God comes in the form of a dove, it is holy. But if he comes in the form of a cow, It is a heathen superstition, condemn it. This is how the world goes. That is why the poet says, what fools we mortals be, how difficult it is to look through each other's eyes, and that is the bane of humanity, that is the basis of hatred and jealousy, of quarrel and of fight. Boys, mustached babies who never went out of Madras, standing up and wanting to dictate laws to 300 million of people with thousands of traditions at their back. Are you not ashamed? Stand back from the such blasphemy and learn first your lessons, irrelevant boys, simply because you can scrawl a few lines upon paper and get some fool to publish them for you. You think you are the educators of the world? You think you are the public opinion of India? Is it so? This is I have to tell to the social reformers of Madras that I have the greatest respect and love for them. I love them for the great hearts and their love for their country, for the poor and for the oppressed. But I would tell them with a brother's love is that their method is not right. It has been tried 100 years and failed. Let us try something new in India, a new method. Did India ever stand in want of reformers? Do you read the history of India? Who was Ramanuja? Who was Shankara? Who was Nanak? Who was Chaitanya? Who was Kabir? Who was Dadu? Who were all these great preachers, one following the other, a galaxy of stars of the first magnitude? Did not Ramanuja feel for the lower classes? Did he not try all his life to admit even the pariah to his community? Did he not try to admit even Mohammedans to his own fold? Did not Nanak confer with Hindus and Mohammedans and try to bring about a new state of things? They all tried, and their work is still going on. The difference is this: they had not the fanfaronade of the reformers of today. They had no curses on their lips as modern reformers have. Their lips were pronounced with blessings. They never condemned. They said to the people that the race must always grow. They looked back and said, O Hindus, what you have done is good, but my brothers, let us do better. They did not say, you have been wicked, now let us be good. They said, you have been good, but let us now be better. That makes a whole world of a difference. We must grow according to our nature. Vain is it to attempt the lines of action that foreign societies have engrafted upon us. It is impossible. Glory unto God that it is impossible, that we cannot be twisted and tortured into the shape oil other nations. I do not condemn the institutions of other races. They are good for them, but not for us. What is meant for them may be poison for us. This is the first lesson to learn. With other sciences, other institutions, and other traditions behind them, they have got their present system. We, with our traditions, with thousands of years of karma behind us, naturally can you follow our own bent, run in our own grooves, and that we shall have to do. What is my plan then? My plan is to follow the ideas of the great ancient masters. I have studied their work, and it has been given on to me to discover the line of action they took. They were the great originators of society. They were the great givers of the strength and of the purity and of life. They did most marvelous work. We have to do most marvelous work also. Circumstances have become a little different, and in consequence, the lines of action have to be changed a little, and that is all. I can see that each nation, like each individual, has one theme in this life, which is its center, the principal note round which every other note comes to form the harmony. In one nation, political power is its vitality, as in England, artistic life is another, and so on. In India, religious life forms the center, the keynote of the whole music of national life. And if any nation attempts to throw off its national vitality, the direction which has become its own through the transmission of centuries, that nation dies if it succeeds in the attempt. And therefore, if you succeed in the attempt to throw off your religion and take up either politics or society or any other things as you center as the vitality of your national life, the result will be that you will become extinct. To prevent this, you must make all and everything work through the vitality of your religion. Let all your nerves vibrate through the backbone of your religion. I have seen that I cannot preach even religion to Americans without showing them its practical effect on social life. I could not preach religion in England without showing the wonderful political changes the Vedanta would bring. So, in India, social reform has to be preached by showing how much more spiritual a life the new system will bring. And politics has to be preached by showing how much it will improve that the one thing that the nation wants. Every man has to make his own choice, so has every nation. We made our choices ages ago and we must abide by it. And after all, it is not such a bad choice. Is it such a bad choice in the world to think not of matter but of a spirit, not of a man but of a God? That intense faith in another world, that intense hatred for this world, that intense power of renunciation, that intense faith of God, that intense faith of immortal soul is in you. Challenge anyone to give it up. You cannot. You may try to impose upon me by becoming materialist, by talking materialism for a few months, but I know what you are. If I take you by the hand, back you come as good theists as ever were born. How can you change your nature? So, every improvement in India requires, first of all, an upheaval in religion. Before flooding India with socialistic and political ideas, first deluge the land with spiritual ideas. The first work that demands our attention is the most wonderful truths confined in our Upanishads, in our scriptures, in our Puranas, must be brought out from the books, brought out from the monasteries, brought out from the forests, brought out from the possession of selected bodies of people and scattered, broadcasted all over the land, so that these truths may run like fire all over the country from north to south and east to west, from the Himalayas to Comorin, from Sindh to the Brahmaputra. Everyone must know them because it is said this has first to be heard, then thought upon, and then meditated upon. Let the people hear first, and whoever helps in the making the people hear about the great truths in their own scriptures cannot make himself a better karma today. Says our Vyasa, in the Kali Yuga, there is one karma left. Sacrifices and tremendous tapasyas are of no avail now. Of karma, one remains, that is the karma of giving. And of these gifts, the gift of spiritual and spiritual knowledge is the highest. The next gift is the gift of secular knowledge. The next gift is the gift of life. And the fourth one is the gift of food. Look at this wonderful charitable race. Look at the amount of gifts that are made in this poor, poor country. Look at the hospitality where a man can travel from the north to the south, having the best in the land, being treated always by everyone as if he were a friend, and where no beggar starves so long as there is a piece of bread anywhere. In this land of charity, let us take up the energy of the first charity, the diffusion of spiritual knowledge. And that diffusion should not be confined with the bounds of India. It must go out all over the world. This has been the custom. Those who tell you that the Indian thought never went outside of India, those that tell you that I am the first sannyasi who went to foreign lands to preach, do not know their history of their own race. Again and again, this phenomenon has happened. Whenever the world has required it, this perennial flood of spirituality has overflowed and deluged the world. Gifts of political knowledge can be made with the blast of trumpets and the march of cohorts. gifts of secular knowledge and the social knowledge can be made with the fire and sword, but the spiritual knowledge can only be given in the silence, like the dew that falls unseen and unheard, yet bringing into blossom the masses of roses. This has been the gift of India to the world again and again. Whenever there has been a great conquering race, bringing the nations of the world together, making the roads and transit possible, immediately India arose and gave her quota of spiritual power to the sum total of the progress of the world. This happened ages before Buddha was born, and remnants of it are still left in China, in Asia Minor, and in the heart of Malayan archipelago. This was the case when the great Greek conqueror united the four corners of the known world, then rushed out Indian spirituality, and the boasted civilization of the West is but the remnant of that deluge. Now the same opportunity has come. The power of England has linked the nations of the world together as was never done before. English roads and channels of communication rush from one end of the world to the other. Owing to the English genius, the world today has been linked in such a fashion as has never been before done. Today, trade centers have been formed such as have never been before in the history of mankind, and immediately, consciously or unconsciously, India rises up and pours forth her gifts of spirituality. They will rush through these roads till they have reached the very ends of the world. That I went to America was not my doing or your doing, but the God of India, who is guiding her destiny, sent me and will send hundreds of such to all the nations of the world. No power on earth can resist it. This is also has to be done. You must go out, preach your religion, preach it to every nation under the sun, preach it to every people. This is the first thing to do. And after preaching spiritual knowledge, along with it will come that secular knowledge and every other knowledge that you want. But if you attempt to get the secular knowledge without religion, I tell you plainly, vain is your attempt in India. It will never have a hold on the people. Even the great Buddhistic movement was a failure, partially on account of that. Therefore, my friends, my plan is to start institutions in India to train our young men as preachers of the truths of our scriptures in India and outside India. Men, these are wanted. Everything else will be ready, but strong, vigorous, believing young men, sincere to the backbone, are wanted. 100 such, and the world becomes revolutionized. The will is stronger than anything else. Everything must go down before the will, for that comes from God and God Himself. A pure and a strong will is omnipotent. Do you not believe in it? Preach, preach on to the world the great truths of your religion. The world waits for them. For centuries, people have been taught theories of degradation. They have been told that they are nothing. The masses have been told all over the world that they are not human beings. They have been so frightened for centuries till they have nearly become animals. Never were they allowed to hear of the Atman. Let them hear of the Atman, that even the lowest of the low have the Atman within, which never dies and is never born. Of him whom the sword cannot pierce, nor the fire burn, nor the air dry, the immortal without beginning or end, the all pure, omnipotent, and omnipresent Atman. Let them have faith in themselves, for what makes the difference between the Englishman and you? Let them talk their religion and duty and so forth. I have found the difference. The difference is here. The Englishman believes in himself and you do not. He believes in his being an Englishman and he can do anything that brings out the God within him, and he can do anything he likes. You have been told and taught that you can do anything, and non entities you are becoming every day. What we want is strength, so believe in yourself. We have become weak, and that is why occultism and mysticism come to us. These creepy things, there may be great truths in them, but they have nearly destroyed us. Make your nerves strong. What we want is muscles of iron and nerves of steel. We have wept long enough. No more weeping, but standing on your own feet and be men. It is a man making religion that we want. It is man making theories that we want. It is a man making education all around that we want. And here is the test of the truth. Anything that makes you weak physically, intellectually, and spiritually, reject as poison. There is no life in it. It cannot be true. Truth is strengthening. Truth is purity. Truth is all knowledge. Truth must be strengthening, must be enlightening, must be invigorating. These mysticism, in spite of some gains of truth in them, are generally weakening. Believe me, I have a lifelong experience of it, and the one conclusion that I draw is that is the weakening. I have traveled all over India, searched almost every cave here, and lived in the Himalayas. I know people who lived there all their lives. I love my nation. I cannot see you degraded, weakened any more than you are now. Therefore, I am bound for your sake and for its sake to cry, hold, and to raise my voice against this degradation of my race. Give up these awakening mysticism and be strong. Go back to your Upanishads, the shining, the strengthening, the bright philosophy, and part of all these mysterious things, all these weakening things. Take up this philosophy. The greatest truths are the simplest things in the world, simple as your own existence. The truths of the Upanishads are before you. Take them up, live up to them, and the salvation of India will be at the hand. One word more, and I have finished. They talk of patriotism. I believe in patriotism, and I also have my own ideal of patriotism. Three things are necessary for great achievements. First, feel from the heart what is in the intellect or reason. It goes a few steps and there it stops. But through the heart comes inspiration. Love opens the most impossible gates. Love is the gate to all the secrets of the universe. Feel. Therefore, my would be reformers, my would be patriots. Do you feel? Do you feel that millions and millions of the descendants of gods and of sages have become next door neighbors to the brutes? Do you feel that the millions are starving today and millions have been starving for ages? Do you feel that the ignorance has come over the land as the dark cloud? Does it make you restless? Does it make you sleepless? Has it gone into your blood, coursing through your veins, becoming consonant with your heartbeats? Has it made you almost mad? Are you seized with that one idea of the misery of ruin? And have you forgotten all about your name, your fame, your wives, your children, your property, even your own bodies? Have you done that? That is the first step to become patriot, the very first step. I did not go to America, as most of you know, for the Parliament of Religions, but this demon of a feeling was in me and within my soul. I traveled 12 years all over India, finding no way to work for my countrymen, and that is why I went to America. Most of you know that. Who knew me then? Who cared about this Parliament of Religions? Here was my own flesh and blood sinking every day, and who cared for them? This was my first step. You may feel then, but instead of spending your energies in frothy talk, have you found any way out? Any practical solution, some help instead of condemnation, some sweet words to soothe their miseries, to bring them out of this living death? Yet that is not all. Have you got the will of surmount mountain high obstructions? If the whole world stands against you, sword in hand, would you still dare to do what you think is right. If your wives and children are against you, if all your money goes, your name dies, your wealth vanishes, would you still stick to it? Would you still pursue to it and go steadily towards your own goal? As the great King Bhartrihari says, let the sages blame or let them praise, let the goddess of fortune come or let go, wherever she likes, let death come today or let it come in hundreds of years. He indeed is the steady man who does not move 1 inch from the way of truth. Have you got that steadfastness? If you have these three things, each one of you will work miracles. You need not to write in the newspapers. You need not to go about lecturing. Your very face will shine. If you live in a cave, your thoughts will permeate even through the rock walls, will go vibrating all over the world for hundreds of years, maybe until they will fasten onto some brain and work out there. Such is the power of thought, of sincerity, and of purity and of purpose. I am afraid I am delaying you, but one word more. This national ship, my countrymen, my friends, my children, this national ship has been ferrying millions and millions of souls across the waters of life. For scores of shining centuries, it has been plying across this water, and through its agencies, millions of souls have been taken it to the other shore, to the blessedness. But today, perhaps through your own fault, this boat has become a little damaged, has sprung a leak, and would you therefore curse it? Is it fit that you stand up and pronounce malediction upon it? One that has done more work any other thing in the world. If there are holes in this national ship, this society of ours, we are its children. Let us go and stop the holes. Let us gladly do it with our heart's blood. And if we cannot, then let us die. We will make a plug of our brains and put them into ship, but condemn it never. Say not one harsh word against the society. I love it for its great past greatness. I love you all because you are the children of gods and because you are the children of the glorious forefathers. How then can I curse you? Never. All the blessings upon you. I have come to you, my children, to tell you all my plans. If you hear them, I am ready to work with you. But if you will not listen to them and even kick me out of India, I will come back and tell you that we are all sinking. I am come now to sit in your midst, and if we are to sink, let us all sing together, but never let curses rise to our lips. That was a fantastic speech about his plans by Swami Vivekananda, which he delivered in the Victoria Hall of Madras. We will come back with more episodes in coming weeks. Thank you.